Parasha Yisro, Tafshin Pei. Interesting Parasha. It's interesting beginning of Parasha. We're going to speak about Matan Torah, but very interesting beginning of the Parasha with this Yisro, the story, and what he comes to add. Let's go into the psukim right away, and let's try to understand a simple question. So the Parasha starts with Vayishma Yisro Choyhen Midian. He heard all the waters of the on earth splitted, but he saw it. No, he heard. Fine. Yisro, Rashi is going to say, takes it from the Tanchuma. He had 7 names. And as we're going to see in the Pasuk, from the beginning, Vayelech, if I have it here, we'll make it easier. Vayelech Moshe Vayashov Eliezer Chosnoi. This is in Parashas Va'era. So Eliezer, no, it's Va'era, and Shmois. Eliezer Chosnoi. So his name is Yeser, and the Torah here calls him Yisro. So we're gonna go slowly understand. Choyhen Midian teaches the Tanchuma Koimer LaAvodah Zara. Are you trying to bash him? Are you trying to belittle him? What are you trying to tell us? That's the first adjective you tell us about him, the first trait of character. What's the purpose of saying Choyhen Midian? But then he called him right away Yisro and Moshe. He's the father-in-law of the king of Israel. So you can't be telling me two opposite descriptions about one, you bashing him first. If you had said Yisro and Moshe first and he is Choyhen Midian, okay, but here it's Choyhen Midian. His definition is Komer LaAvodah Zara. He's a priest for Avodah Zara. If you realize, we need to pay attention that all the names that are going to be mentioned all along through Matan Torah is Elohim. As Elohim leMoshe leYisrael, Elohim asa. And now it says Ki Yoitzi Hashem. But when we took out of Egypt, not like Vayhi Beshalach Paro, it was Paro that sent them. So that's the share I didn't give. Yeah, it's not like it says in Beshalach. No, Ki Hoitzi Hashem es Yisrael mi Mitzrayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took out the Yidden from Mitzrayim. Why Hashem? It couldn't be done by the Malchus. It had to be done. They were not meritful to deserve Yetzias Mitzrayim. It had to be done Shaloi Kedin, and every time he says Elohim, it means Midas Adin agrees to it. Through the Luchas, you're going to see this. Then a few psukim later, what Yitro did altogether, ve'ata secheze, and you will see. You will see with your eyes. This is the Zohar of Parshas Yisro, is the one that describes the signs that are on people's face and shapes of fingers, and so forth. So to read the character of a person and his traits to know if he's a good guy. And he will institute for Am Yisrael Anshe Chayim, powerful people that have stamina. Yireh Elohim, they fear the Shechina, not Yireh Hashem. Yireh Elohim. Anshe Emes, people of truth. Soin a vatsa. That don't like they're not after the Tanchuma would explain that even about their money, the loss of their money, they don't care. Kol sheken when it's others, I mean, they're not after money. They're not money driven, these people. And keeps on going. So this is a description of a dain that Moshe Rabbeinu had to appoint. Anshe Chayil again, Yireh Elohikim, Anshe Emes, third midah, Soine Batza, four midah. That's the four midas required by a dain. Vesamta Aleihem, and it should be upon them, on them, Sare Alafim, it should have a base din for the 1,000, Sare Meois, a base din for the 100, Sare Chamishim, Vesare Asaris. Four types of base din. Okay. Interesting. Yud Kev Vav Kev, 4 letters, Aleph Dalet Nun, Yud 4 letters. Is there a connection? Why bedafka these numbers have you taken? But let's not forget the elephant in the room. This is Matan Torah. This is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, taking you out of Egypt when he was by the sneh is like a comma in the sentence compared to where you're going to go to serve me. And this is the sign that I'm taking you out of Egypt is you're going to come and worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu on this very mountain. In other words, Yetzias Mitzrayim is an incident to Matan Torah. And you take Yisro and you put him before Matan Torah. You know, the Eile HaMishpatim, there's another Parasha coming up about the Mishpatim, the laws. And or in Shoftim, you know, in Parashas of the Dayanim, go put it there. Why do you put Yisro, Kohen Midian, before even Matan Torah? The greatest thing that ever happens that saves us through the different galuyas is the Torah. You put Yisro beforehand. What did he do? I mean, what does he say in his word that's so important that you need to put Yisro beforehand? On top of this, he steals the name of the Parasha of Matan Torah. It should have been the Parasha of Matan Torah. B'chodesh hashlishi letzeis bnei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim, the third month after they came out of Egypt. We're not going to have time to get there, so there's no point explaining you this. They were in Midbar Sinai. I mean, we see there are so many nisim over there that they belittle everything that have happened beforehand. So why Yisro took the spotlight? Why did Yisro take the name of the Parasha of the most important event in Am Yisrael's life? Now I can turn the question around and say, obviously, if you put it here, I mean, there's a side, at least one hidden side here with it's in plain view, but we don't see it, that it had to be put before Matan Torah. In other words, Matan Torah is impossible without something that Yitro is teaching Moshe Rabbeinu. Then in that case, if it's that great, that man, and so wise, why do you have to bash him by saying Kohen Midian? Why do you have to remind us that the guy was the Oved Avodah Zarah and he was the Kohen of all of them? What's the need in that? We can start going to the Zohar HaKodesh here very, very interesting Zohar. I'm just going to give it to you raw. I don't want to give to fluff it up because his words are amazing. It's kedai to remember this before in the name of the Zohar Kodesh. Nothing happens down here that did not happen prior to this up there. There is a parallel world on top of our world. And in this world, they are the same powers, but with a different expression, a different look, a different everything. Hashem could not come down on earth unless his name was completely unified. We're going to go over every detail after that and really go a little bit deep in here. Therefore, as long as Paro was denying the existence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there were powers here that would not allow the name of Hashem to be unified. And therefore, Paro had to receive the Marcus. Once the Tsar of Mitzrayim, the minister, the angel of Mitzrayim up there, was punished and lashed, Paro was lashed down here. Until Paro broke down and recognized that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only koyach in the world. Even Kishufim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed him that even Kishufim have no power unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu let them have power. And that's the reason when the Khartoumim were trying to do from Makas Kinim and on, with the Shaila, as Makas Kinim is because he was itching them that they could not do it, or it's because that was already too small and they cannot create small creatures, in Kishuv. Oh, it's just not, it was not working. HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided it was not working. Then Paro realized that behind even the power of Kishuv in the tumor, if it was not for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to let them be, they wouldn't work. You can say formulas, you can say whatever you want, you can write whatever you want. Nothing works unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides so. And now, so Paro broke down and unified the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem Echad Ushmoi Echad. When we say Echad, means absolute. There's no other possibility of having another force, another power, another anything. It's not dividable. The place Echad is not dividable. When you have one, it's a complete number. When you have two, it can be divided in 2 times 1. And so forth. So it had to be the Echad. And so when Yisro broke down, because he was working for Paro, he was one of the advisors of Paro before he ran away. At that point, he also admitted he had to, he realized, because he was Choyhen Midian. He was the priest of the Avodah Zarah. What was he doing? Kishuv. All these people are Kishuv. Until he came to admit himself, Baruch Hashem, Asher Hitzil Eschem Miyad Mitzrayim Umiyad Paroi. He blessed HaKadosh Baruch Hu because now he understands Elohim is the power of nature, but even in the nature itself is HaKadosh Baruch Hu inside with a levush of nature. In other words, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to come down on earth, the Yud Ke Vav Ke is inside. Hashem Hu HaElohikim. Yud Ke Vav Ke Hu HaElohikim. You're going to realize, if you pay attention to the names in this Parasha, that many times it says Ha-Elohikim. Ha-Elohikim equals 91. It's the Yichud. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes down. Sometimes the Yichud happens downstairs. Sometimes it happens upstairs. So Ha-Elohikim means Yesod and Malchus together, but it's always Hashem. It's Yud Ke Vav Ke. HaKadosh Baruch Hu unify himself with the Shechina. So sometimes the Shechina is the one going up. Sometimes it's the Yud Ke Vav Ke going down to unify himself with the Shechina. But the point here is that the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to be unified for something as grandiose as giving the Torah to the Bnei Israel. Unless this happens, it's impossible to. So let's dwell a little bit on Yisro and the best way to see who he is and what maybe he came to teach. What are the requirements for Torah is we're going to learn it through his descendants. The Midrash Tanchuma here says his name was Yeser, like I mentioned before. The Torah added a vav to say Yisro, to teach us that he added a Parasha of Dayanim in the Torah. In other words, prior to the Torah, you need Dayanim. Unless there are Dayanim, Torah cannot happen. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. We're going to see exactly what it means. When the descendant of Yisro came into Eretz Israel, Yeshua gave them a parcel next to Yericho, Ir Hatamarim, the best, according to the Torah, the best dates in the world grow in Yericho. You go to Eretz Israel today, you want to buy the best dates, it's called the Yericho dates. This land, this thing has something special. So they arrive there, they realize, they say, hey, we didn't come all the way to Eretz Israel to go work the field and become, just like the Goyim. Everyone is going to go after his Parnasa. What's going to happen to Torah? So they packed up. They said, in the Midbar, there is no plowing, there is no sowing, there is nothing. This is where we're going. They went to Arad, which is in Midbar Yehuda. And there they found a Bes Midrash. And they sat outside the Beis HaMidrash. They looked inside. They saw that they were Bnei Melachim, the princes of Israel, of the Shvatim. They saw that Kohanim was there. It says, who are we us? We are Bnei Gerim. We only descendants of converts. It doesn't befit us to sit in the same room when these great people are sitting. So they were sitting by the doors of the Beis HaMidrash, and this is where they were learning. I'm not going to tell you the whole story. It's amazing. You have to understand that when Am Yisrael needed the Yeshua, they used to come to the children of Yisro to ask them to daven, and the tefillah right away was accepted. I mean, they reached a level which is unimaginable. Okay, this midrash is loaded. So was the Zohar before. It's about time we try to dissecate it and understand what are the powers behind the scene and the required powers needed for a person in order to be Mekabel the Torah, which is what Yisro came to teach us. let's go into. So basically, what we have learned is his name was Yeser. All right? That was his name because he added a Parasha in the Torah. Yeser equals 610. Equal Esrog. Okay, I give you a high-level answer here. Esrog is a pre-Etz Hadar. It's the beautiful fruit. In other words, you're hinting me here that don't misread the first pasuk, Vayishma Yisro Choyhen Midian. We're not trying to bash him. In contrary, we're going to try, I don't know how to explain the pasuk, but now I know that you're going to tell me something that's going to show me Yisro under a different optics. Instead of looking down at him because he was a Komer, I'm going to look up at him. So we're going to go step by step. If we go the milui of the name of the Chachma, meaning we fill up 2 times. So we have here Yud, for the Yud, Vav, Dalet, for the Hey Yud, Hey, Yud, Vav. Vav, you write it like this, Vav. So we have, now we have written one Vav, Yud, Vav. And Hey, Yud. This equals to 610. This shows me that Yitro was a tremendous chacham. Because, again, this name here is the Yud Ke Vav Ke Shem Ab. Yud Ke Vav Ke, in full, the name of the chachma. So I took this name and I filled it up one more time. So we call milui b'milui, filled twice, and now you have the name of Yisro. Yes, sir, his original name. So why did the Torah is adding a vav and calling him Yisro? Because now it's not really his name. He was made up. Just for the purpose here, the Torah changed his name to Yisro. Equals 616 equals tremendous Yehudim. Kel Elohim. Kel Aleph Dalet Nun. Kel Yud Ke Vav Ke. Why did I go to the line? Kel Shak. Usually we know these 3 Yehudim here. Kel Adnos is Olam Asiya, from going from Olam Asiya to Olam Haberia, which is above. Kel Yud Ke Vav Ke is to go from Olam HaYetzira to Olam HaBeria, and here it's to go from Olam HaBeria to Olam HaAtzilus. There are 4 worlds. So what is Kel Elohim standing for? Kel Elohim is below our world, is the underworld, is the world where sinners are. It's the world where the world incomplete. So I mean they're going to the time, we call him Olam HaTohu. The world that's mixed up, because people there are completely mixed up and they do all kind of bad things. That's the world. In other words, Yisro came from Olam HaTohu. He was doing Avodah Zarah. He elevated himself with the Yichud Kel Elohikim. He arrived to Olam HaAsiyah. He elevated himself with Kel Adnos. He arrived to Olam HaYetzirah. He elevated himself with the name Kel Hashem, and he arrived to Olam now HaBeriyah. Olam HaBeriyah is where the Bina is Olam HaTshuva. Aha. Can I prove it? Maybe. Because this equals to Kasa, Kamag, Kana. All the names of, okay, this is Aleph K Yud K with the Hey with the Yud. This is Aleph K Yud K. So the Av goes here, the Sa goes here, Ma goes here, and Ben goes here. That's the power of these names. So we have here all the names of the Bina. Yisro equals all the names, all the Yichudim, but he also equals, which is equal to the names of the Bina. Knowing that the Bina is Olam HaTshuva, so I know that Yisro here made a complete Tshuva. Then how can you call him Kohen Midian? You're not allowed to remind. It's in similar Resh Lamed Ches, I think in your idea in Choshen Mishpat or in Nas Dvarim. It's a tremendous issue to remind about Tshuva. You know what he was before. We're not allowed to do that. How come then we call him Kohen Midian? Why we not allowed to remind this about Tshuva is because when the person is making Tshuva, he becomes someone else. So don't give the address of that person to the Satan so he can find him. The Satan cannot find him. He cannot correlate these two things, with that a person can disappear from this world and become someone else. By the Satan criteria, this cannot exist. So he doesn't understand. He's lost when this happens. First thing we see, first midah that to approach the Torah is tshuva, to live with tshuva all the time. Say, I don't have to make tshuva. Live with tshuva every minute. When you have nothing to do, tell Hashem you want to make tshuva. That's the biggest thing you can do. The Midrash Tanchuma in Parasha Yisro tells me one more little I can call it a remez, an insinuation, because it's not clear the way he says it. He says, we said in the story that they were sitting outside the Beis HaMidrash because they found themselves lacking the value to be equal to Bnei Israel, to the Bnei HaKohanim, to the Bnei HaMelech. They were not at that level, and therefore they decided not to go into the Beis HaMidrash. And again, they learned where? They learned outside the Beis HaMidrash. Why would they do that? Is that a place to learn? I mean, not going into the Beis HaMidrash? Yisro comes to teach us here a huge, huge foundation to approach the Limud Torah, receiving the Torah. In other words, when you go to the store and you want to buy some produce or meat or chicken, you take them, you put them in a bag in order to be able to carry them. and carry much more. But if you don't have a bag, can you put all the items in your hands and hold them in your hand until you get home? No. The light needs a vessel to be contained. If you don't contain it, you lose it. It dissipates. In the world of Tohu, the empty world, it goes and dissipates itself. But if you have a kli, in that case, you can keep and guard the oil that comes out from the mitzvahs, from the learning, and so forth. This, I'm going to go inside with you on this midah because it's too important. This is even nowadays. I mean, we call this midah Mesirat Nefesh. They left the good land of Yericho. They said, we cannot learn Torah in a place if we have to work the field. So there's no more learning Torah because the field is going to take all our time. By the time you finish one task, another one starts. Let's analyze just simply on the outside. What is Mesirat Nefesh? What is it required? Yes, we know that it says in Parashat Chukas, Adam ki yamus be'oihel, a person who dies in the oihel, which refers to the Beis Hamidrash. Adam ki, and Chazal from this, and divrei Torah miskaimim. The divrei Torah can only, I don't want to call it leave, to leave, L-I-V-E.
Sustain.
To what?
Sustain.
Oh, to sustain.
Be sustained.
Adam ki yamus be'oihel. A person that dies, he has to kill himself in the oihel, in the Beis Hamidrash. Oh, I know what you're telling me, sustain. And divrei Torah miskaimim, they cannot be sustained, the divrei Torah, only by someone shemeimis atzmoi aleha. He kills himself on the Torah. What is Mesirat Nefesh? Mesirat Nefesh, you push yourself to the limit where you feel your nefesh is in your mouth and it's about to depart. That's called Mesirat Nefesh. Torah, in order to receive it, in order to learn it, in order to comprehend it, in order to keep it and to be able to remember it, remember, the Torah is a heavenly fire. It's not a science. It's a chokhmah ilah. It's a chokhmah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In order to be able to have it in the mind, trust me, those who don't have the midah, you're going to see the 3 midahs and you're going to see, oh my gosh, it makes sense. I'm going to keep a little bit on here, on this subject, because it's a huge subject to know what to do in order to be koine, to acquire the Torah. I told you in the past, last year, we have a tremendous mitzvah that we say first, we mention first in Kriya Shema. Ve'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. If you have no measurement tool in order to be able to measure your love for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're incapable of knowing if you're accomplishing the mitzvah or not. It's abstract law. So how can I measure it? How can I know if I'm fulfilling the mitzvah, yes or no? And we said that so ve'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha equals 907. Ve'ahavta lereyacha kamocha ani Hashem equals 907. You want to measure to yourself where you're standing in the mitzvah of loving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Turn around, look at your friend. Not this one, the other one, because this one, okay, right there you fell. You don't love Hashem. If you're capable of reacting like this toward any Bnei Israel, you lost it. You are not worshipping HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you worshipping yourself. You made yourself avodah zara, which is the second dibur. Lo yisase lecha pesel. Lo yisase lecha, says the Baal Shem. Don't make yourself a pesel, a statue. Because it fits your needs, it fits the context, it fits your profits, then you pretend to be a firm guy. In other words, we have here the need to mix an emotion, and we are obligated to. Usually it's only spiritual, so it means it's in the head, and we have to go up and connect. But here, no. We demand that the heart gets involved. So you have the oihev, the person that loves, and you have the noun, which is love, ahava. These two, according to the Kabbalahs of the Baal Shem, these are tremendous shemus, tremendous names that were mentioned on Yom Kippur. No need to go back to anywhere. I just want to make sure that you understand that oihev, ahava, bimekayim, this mitzvah. I just said before, it's in the heart. Well, it cannot be more spiritual than this about this mitzvah. It's not a physical love. It's because physicality has boundaries. I love you till here, not to there. I love you till this, but not to that. No, these are physical boundaries. The mitzvah of oihev and ahava is spiritual, is boundless. You heard me right. It has to be boundless. It has to be that you would agree that he gets more than you. Now you're true oihev Yisrael. When you work upon yourself and your midas, because all Am Yisrael, it's a pity last week I spoke a lot about this, explained a lot. It would have been a good foundation for this year. All what a Jew is an adjective, not a noun, called Yisrael. A person, the Avodas HaKodesh say, a person can be born, Kava Yashar brings it down. A person can be born to a father and a mother, which are Yisro, and he is an Erev Rav. In other words, your behavior your actions will define if you're a kli for the light or you're a kli for the darkness. Will you have a neshama from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or will you have a neshama from the Sitra Achra? Is your choice that will define that, not something you're born with. Yes, when the person does the Bris Milah or a girl is named, automatically a neshama descends, a neshama tahira descends to the person, to the baby. But this neshama is not forever yours. It's going to have to be worked for later. And if the person intentionally, because he wants to benefit himself, is not seeking the truth, as we're going to see a bit later, in that case, he loses the Holy One and he gets an impure nefesh, ruach, and neshama from the dark side. That was a little. So we see that Yisro is an adjective and not a noun. Now, since these two names, if I wrote them or not, yes. Oihev, Ahava, that was the name that according to the Baal Shem, that the Kohen Gadol was saying inside the Kodesh HaKodashim. Some say it was the Shem Membe, some say it was the Shem of 72, some say, and the Baal Shem, this is what he holds. If we fill them up to see what's inside there, what do they give us? So Aleph here, Vav, Hey, base, Aleph, Hey, base, Hey. Gives you a number here equal 1118, which is equals to Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. When you have love, when you're capable of bounding, they may not be too nice to you. We're not talking about Reshaim, okay, obviously. Because Ba'avoid Reshaim Rina, says the apostle. When Reshaim die, it's a simcha for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because they stop destroying the world. Rina is beyond simcha. It's a joy. Number one, because for themselves, because they're not going to add sins over their sins, so they're going to have less punishment on the other side. But Ba'avoid Reshaim Rina. So we're talking about a normal Jew, you don't know him, or he's not exactly your type, or whatever, you are going to. Yeah, I'm just going to give you, for those who take notes, equals. This is the measurement we have if you love God. Look at your friend around you. So now we see we have a Oihev Ahava in full. When you are Oihev and you have true love, then you are doing the unification of the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as we do it with Kavanes in Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. We unify HaKadosh Baruch Hu in all the worlds. If you add Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad with Oihev Ahava, you're getting a number, and this number equals 1,000. What was it before? 146. 146, which equals to Mesirat Nefesh. When you do Mesirat Nefesh on the Torah, your kli is Oihev Ahava Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. In other words, it's not like you're becoming a Hezbollah and you're pretending and want to chop heads of other people. That's not called Mesirat Nefesh. Mesirat Nefesh is not this. Mesirat Nefesh is like the children and grandchildren of Yitro that looked at themselves incomplete, versus when they look at someone else on the other side, they look at them complete. That's the Oihev Ahava. That's the one that makes the Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. I didn't say before what this is equal to. We were in the middle and I skipped. So I said is 1,146. Now it's okay to learn it afterward. What's Mesirat Nefesh? The Ralav. And guys, those who don't understand, just open your microphone. Tell me, I'll be happy to explain you. The Tana and Kel Hashem, the Yichud that brings the light. Kel Hashem, I'll explain it. It's too important. This Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. When someone does Mesirat Nefesh, he has, okay, let's take the paper so we understand. The Ralav, remember, is his four names. Av, Sag, Ma, Ben. These four names are the names that come out. They're worth 232. Then you have these three names, Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey, Kasa, which is 161. We call them by the numbers. Kasa means 161. This one, Kamag, means 143. So this is worth 143 when you write the Hey with the Aleph. And if you write the Hey with the Hey, equals Kana, 151, because it's worth 150. But what we're adding to it is 1 point. We're adding to it, it says in the Pasuk, we said every Rosh Chodesh in Tehillim, at the end after Anashem Moshiach, Kel Hashem va'ya'er lanu. If you need light, a person who's in the darkness, he needs light. He needs to do the yichud. Should have written it like this. I should write it like this. Yud K Vav K. Because he raises himself above the world of darkness. So all this together equals 1,466 and 46. And this is what it is. Oihev and Ahava with Shema Yisrael equal this Mesirat Nefesh. Very good. I'm learning from Yitro here already two things. And the second is even bigger because it teaches Moshe Rabbeinu, you're going to receive the Torah now, but you can't receive the Torah unless you have this midah. I don't know what these lines are. Unless they have this midah of Mesirat Nefesh. Adam ki yamus be'oihel, a person who dies in the tent. Which tent? The Beis HaMidrash. Lamed and divrei Torah miskaimim, that the divrei Torah will not be sustained in a person that doesn't respect that. In other words, Yisro tells Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah ain't going to come by itself. It's going to come with the Shekhinah. Make yourself a mikdash, and I will come and the koinen in English, it's to nest inside you. Okay, what do I have to do? Just open my heart. How? Mesirat Nefesh. Every time you don't stop in the middle of a mitzvah and give up, you go up to the midah of Mesirat Nefesh. Then the Shekhinah has a place to nest. Then he will come down. That's why it says Elohim everywhere. After Pasuk says that after HaKadosh Baruch Hu, finished talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, explain him the Torah, in 40 days, which is a very short time for such a big Torah. He gave him 2 luchas ha'edus of testimony. Chazal say why 2? Because apishnayim edim yakum davar. Whenever you have a testimony, you need to have 2 edim. That's why there's 2 luchas. That's why they call luchas ha'edus. There's a huge side in here. I'm not going to go into close to this, but huge, beyond huge. Yeah, I'm not going to say it. So, if you realize in the pasuk, it doesn't say, it's not written with the vav. Neither luches, neither ha'edus. The Midrash is asking, and he's going to give us a weird answer. Why is there no vav in the whole in the word luchos and in the word ha'edus? It's because they were completely equal. And what would it bother you to put a vav and just tell me there's some drasha? It's because the luchos ha'edus tell me they're equal, they're exactly the same, and so forth. So what do you need? To remove all the vavim in the thing. This midrash is, however, the midrash ends by saying that the one who acquires, the one who learns Torah with that midah of Mesirat Nefesh, he will be freed from. So apparently in the midrash it seems to be a machlokes, but it's not a machlokes that we're going to see in the Zohar. Is going to bring the 3 points. So in the midrash he brings Rabbi Hanina and Rabbi Yehuda. We're going to be freed from Malach HaMaves, freed from Shibud Malchuyos. In the first luches, Pascha Zohamasa. Once they approached Har Sinai, they had completed the correction, the tikkun of Adam Arishon, and they reached the level of Adam Arishon prior to the Chet. Therefore, the curses on the person, the curses on the land were canceled. And now, death goes back where it belongs, but not in this world. Human would have never died again had they not done the ego. When they've done the ego, which is Avodah Zarah, they de-unified, they separated the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore, even the Torah in truth is leaving that place. It's very hard to learn in a place where there's a machlokes, where there's a discord, when there's a pirud, there's no achdus. It's very, very hard to learn Torah in that place, especially if they're using the mechanical thing in order to sorry, I lost my thought here. So we have, again, I just want to go back because we're going to go quite deep on these cherus from Malach HaMaves, cherus from Shibud Malchuyos, cherus from all the Yisurim. Put it like this, Yisurim, no more tsaros. Because of the 39, basic. No, the Nachash keeps so is 29 klalos. There was on the man, on the woman, on the land. They were all gone. And because of this, the pasuk used a lashon that it was charus alaluchas. They were carved, but you could have used chakak, not charus. Charus on stone is not the word used. That's why the Chachamim did darshan this, and he gave him luches ha'edus that were ma'aseh Elohikim. They were made by the Shechina. In other words, I have a chance to give another share or whatever, we'll see. It's becoming so difficult now. You will see there's a machlekes in the Zohar. Where is that stone of the first luchas from? The first luchas, how do we receive them? No nation would have been able to overpower us. No nation would have been able to take Eretz Yisrael from us. With people would have been walking in Eretz Yisrael, to go to a shir to the Gan Eden, come back to his house. He would have gone to yeshiva to the Gan Eden. It would have been Eretz Yisrael at the midah of Gan Eden. Goyim have no business there. They have no place there. Nobody would have been able. No guy would have been able to spend a night in Yerushalayim. Nobody. And we would have wiped them out, within seconds, just with our mouth. The Luchas Rishonos, they were starting with the letter Aleph. Echad. Yisro understood that. Yisro understood the magnitude of the present that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing to the Bnei Yisrael. Huge. They have to be ready for it. And without certain midas, they cannot be ready for okay. What is Yisro? What is the midah? If I had to consolidate everything we have said so far and said, look for a midah that befits that, which one is it? If you take Luches Ha'edus, which already Chazal darshan that it's two, I needed, because the Zohar asked, why do I need two? You could have written 10 on one stone. What's the big deal? What difference is it? Because we needed two witnesses. Like Moshe Rabbeinu said, Ha'azimnu ha'shamayim ve'ha'aretz. He took Shamayim va'aretz and he made them the witnesses. Shamayim va'aretz represent the luchas. On the right side of the luchas, you have the name of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei of Hashem mentioned 8 times. On the left side of the luchas, you have 0 times. That's why we call them one Shamayim, because he has the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, which representative Eretz. And on the second side that has no Yud-Kei Vav-Kei represents the Malchus, which is Eretz Elyoina, the upper land. So we have these Luches Ha'edus. Luches Ha'edus equals 917. If you need me to write it, I'll be happy to write it. Anyone needs me to write it there? Okay. You know what? I will still do it because I know you guys need it. So this is how it's written. Luchais ha'edus equals 917. Just to put you quickly. Luchais ha'edus equals 917. Equals 7 times anava. Huge requirement for learning Torah. Huge. In the 7 midas, a person should be humble. That's the way to access the Luchas Ha'edus. You remember the shir I think it was 2 weeks ago, when the neshama, or 3 weeks ago, the neshama did not know the pnimius of the Torah, never learned Sod, the malach that would come to the Heichal would tell him, tells him you cannot go on even though you're a tzaddik, but you cannot enter the Olam Haba without learning Sod. And then it tells him you have to go back down in Gilgul and learn Torah from the people that everybody tramples over. Tramples down. Why? They don't look important, but they are the ones that know the side of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you have to go learn from these people. And then you can come back and you will enter Olam Haba. Why do people trample them? Because they have another in the 7 meters. You cannot access the side of Torah and understand it clearly, unless you have another in your 7 meters, the 7 lower meters. We have Mesirat Nefesh, we have another. It's not because you do Mesirat Nefesh and you acquire the Torah that you pat yourself on the back and you cut stadnak, becoming a peacock, and show us all your feathers and all your colors. Then you defeated the purpose here. What requires by the Torah is dafka the opposite, Mesirat Nefesh, but enough. And you keep quiet. That's for the Bnei Israel. But still, they cannot receive the Torah, especially the Torah of the first luches, which were the segula of this Torah is unimaginable. It's huge, unless they had dayanim with certain midas. So I'm going to go upside down. I'm going to start because I mentioned it before. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to Moshe, so I'm following just the path here. The luches were, let's go if I have it in the pasuk here, so I don't have to rewrite. No. So the luches were Maise Eloikim. They were Michtav Eloikim. Maise Eloikim equals 501 equals Hamalchus. Who did it? Maise Eloikim is the Malchus. That's why it says Eloikim. Don't be too much of a chacham. What's the Michtav Elohim's meaning? A writing, okay, the Zohar says was a white fire over a black fire, because you write on we write black ink on a white paper. It just needs to be seen. Here you have equals 548. If I take the word ahava in full, aleph, ahava, hey, no, has to be a hey like this. This ahava, base, hey, equals 548. What's the connection between ahava and michtav elohim? Because when the Shekhinah wrote, it's not like the second one that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it. It's not like the second one that Moshe Rabbeinu found the stone is his ohel and he carved. Here he was the Malchus, and because he was the Malchus, he had potentially, huge gulas. And the sgula was that the midah of ahava would fulfill the person. All of a sudden, when you learned the Torah of the first luches, you had a tremendous love for Hashem and a tremendous love for Yisro. You would feel different than learning the Torah of the second luches. That's why the first luches had a special sgula. Prior to going into the midas of the dayanim that are required and that every Am Yisrael should have, because they're saved from a lot of misery, I want to tell you a huge midrash. For me, it's huge. It's a midrash Tanchuma in Yisro base. The midrash says, emphasizes on the word vayishma, and he heard Yisro. Some people hear, and it doesn't affect them. They don't change. And some people hear, and they go from one side of the world to the other. So he gives the example of Yoash, the king, and Yisro that has changed completely. Says the Midrash, he was a Komer Lavida Zara, and he became Yisro and Moshe. In other words, what the pasuk says, Vayishma Yisro Choyhen Midian, I'm not coming here to point out, his pedigree and, his occupations and so forth. Not at all. I'm coming to point out one thing only. Look at someone that was in the depth, in the belly of the beast. He raised himself to a point where he became Chosen Moshe, overpowering Moshe Rabbeinu. I know he means father-in-law, but Chosen Moshe is a very interesting lashon here. Added, we all know who Yisro was. He didn't have to tell me, but let's take it, because here lies a tremendous soul. And I'm going to stop on this. Giborei koyach, they have to be powerful. Why? Lo yisaguru ipnei ish. A dying is not allowed to be scared of any human. Why? Ki hamishpat lelo yikimru. Because the mishpat belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the Shechina, I should say. She is midas hadin. When there's a din, automatically the Shechina descends on the dayanim. Now, what it is, you know what the side of mishpat? Mishpat equals 449, something like this. Kamag. 3 kamag. 3 shem keye in Aleph. Each shem keye, so these are the 3 dayanim. Ki ha-mishpat lelo yikimu. The mishpat it means every time the Shechina comes out with the din, it's always done upon 3 dayanim. That's the side of it. So when a person threatens a dayan, the dayan is also to be scared. Now, you ask me the halacha, if he has not started the din, he's not mechuyev to endanger himself. But if the din started, there's no way of stopping it. Either you can't stop it, my friend. If that's the trampoline or it's going to take you to the other side, you got to take it. Yire Eloikim, again, Eloikim, fearing the Shechina, meaning they're always concerned about the Shechina and how to raise her. Anshe Emes, they are driven by the truth to come out with the din, which is Emes La'amitoi, the truth of the truth. I mean, truth is not enough. They're still going to work on the din until it's clear in front of their eyes what's the truth of the truth. Soine Batza, they're not makpid even on their money or when we had the kelim of the Mishkan, we needed, in order for the Kedusha to be able to lie upon them, and I have this here, the Pasuk, so we can see it in the Pasuk. Vayikach Moshe es shemen hamishcha vayimshach es hamishcha. The Shechina would not enter the Mishkan until he was anointed. So the Kelim. If I would take these last letters, you see that why is it mentioned Yisro and Moshe here? It's because without the input of Yisro, Torah could not be given to Am Yisrael. The Torah had to be going through a certain process in order to be given. They needed anova, they needed Mesirat Nefesh, and they need tshuva. Constant tshuva every day, in every tefillah that a person does, he should remember, at least to make tshuva, at least to the. We don't have time to go through the whole thing, but if I can give you what are these midas of the Dayanim, I don't think it's pretty long. So I just want to tell you that when a Dayan is going after the emes, and it's of actuality, to be honest, because that's the thing, right away we look at ourselves and we say, have we done something to deserve this? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us something else. When you have anshe emes, it means because Vayashlech in the Midrash he brings HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the emes say, don't create the man. Hashem said, why don't you? I said, I want to create the man. He threw Vayashlech emes arza. He threw it down. The purpose of Mesirat is to raise the emes. Emes me'eretz titzmach. So now why HaKadosh Baruch Hu really? Because the Shechina down here needs the emes. That's the way to raise it. And the proof is emes me'eretz titzmach. The truth will grow from the land, from the Shechina, equals 1,310 Torah, Avodah, Gemilas, Chasadim. The three pillars that hold the world. Emes. So, Dayanim, besides Anava, besides Mesirat Nefesh, they have different requirements. I can't finish the rest. It would be but you would see the connection, the precede connection between the gematrias of all these words. They all have the ralab, all have emunah. In other words, you're always challenged. You don't understand. You do not know what that din is. Don't panic. The first thing a dayan has to have is emunah. When the person has emunah, automatically on the four of them you have one thing in common. Whichever number you see, sign the bad side is not the same number as anshe chayil. Anshe chayil is not the same as anshe emes, but they all have one thing: emunah and ralab. That's how much I can tell you on this. Torah we're going to receive again this week. It's not just we're reading Parasha Yitro. We're receiving also the Torah. It's not only on Shavuos. On this Shabbos, we can, just by accepting these midas of anivis, a midah of Mesirat Nefesh, a midah of tshuva, the person renews himself every day. He becomes a birya chadasha. That's the reason. Who he was yesterday and he sinned is not the same person who he is today. So when the Malach HaMaves is looking for him to punish him or the Midas Adin, they cannot find him. He's a birya chadasha. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen. All right, so we'll talk about the change of schedule. We'll see for now, Ms. Hashem. Have a good night, everyone. See you, those who are going to be around for Shabbos.
That's okay.
Yeah, call to. Have a good night.
Oh, yeah.